The battlefields of World War II were the stage for some of the most epic and legendary tank clashes in history. Germany's famed Panzer forces were frequently at the heart of these intense confrontations. The German strategy of rapid conquest relied heavily on these tanks, leading the nation to invest vast resources and relentless effort into building and perfecting their Panzer divisions. While Germany's attention was predominantly on bolstering their Panzer forces, the Sturmgeschütz series of vehicles faced significant debates and disapproval before finally being adopted as armored assault guns for infantry support. If the much glamorized Panzer divisions were the sword of the German army, then the assault gun and tank destroyer units served as its steadfast shield. As the war dragged on, the Panzer's once dominant grip on the battlefield began to falter. The heavy burden of anti-tank defense increasingly fell to the assault gun and tank destroyer crews. Their remarkable skill and professionalism played a crucial role in stalling the massive Red Army's advance, preventing it from sweeping even further into Europe. Despite their humble beginnings and initial skepticism, by the war's end, the Stug emerged as the undisputed champion of tank kills, outshining every other vehicle on the battlefield, including the formidable Tiger and Panther tanks. So, what really made these assault guns so deadly, and how did their crews manage to rack up such impressively high tank kills? Join us as we uncover the design features, tactics, and unique advantages that allowed Stug crews to outclass Panzer crews at their own game. From tactical deployment and ambush tactics to superior optics and specialized training, we'll explore the key factors that set the Stug apart. Every weapon system is designed to counter specific enemy capabilities, and most are born from hard-earned experience on the battlefield. The German assault gun was originally conceived to provide the infantry with the armored support that had been sorely lacking during the Great Battles of 1918. Unless machine gun posts, bunkers, and strong points could be eliminated at the outset by direct gunfire, infantry assaults would inevitably succeed only at heavy cost. This harsh reality was perfectly clear to the German General Staff in their post-war analysis. However, the provisions of the Treaty of Versailles, which explicitly prohibited Germany from acquiring or using tracked armored fighting vehicles, ensured that it would be many years before they could address this critical need. In 1935, General Erich von Manstein drafted a memorandum for the Chief of General Staff, highlighting the need for a self-propelled armored gun to support infantry operations. His proposal included equipping each infantry division with an integral assault gun battalion, consisting of 3 batteries of 6 guns each. Thanks to von Manstein's initiative and the backing of Generals von Fritsch and Beck, the project was approved. The artillery was tasked with designing the new weapon system under the oversight of the General Staff's Technical Section 8, led by then-Colonel Walter Model. To expedite the development, it was decided to use the proven chassis and running gear of the Panzer III as the base. A low, fixed superstructure with overhead cover and heavy frontal armor was added, mounting a limited traverse L-24 howitzer. Daimler-Benz constructed the vehicle, while Krupp installed the gun. The completed prototype of this Sturmgeschütz III was ready for trials at the Kummersdorf ranges early in 1937 and proved to be entirely satisfactory. It was hoped that by the autumn of 1939, each active infantry division would be equipped with its own assault gun battalion, with reserve divisions following in 1940. However, The number of guns in each battery was reduced to 4. Ultimately, this optimism proved to be unfounded. Initially, a decision needed to be made regarding which group would assume responsibility for the new weapon. Should it be the infantry, as the weapon was designed for their benefit? Alternatively, could it be the Panzer troops, known for their expertise in operating tracked vehicles? Or should the responsibility lie with the artillery, who had played a key role in conceptualizing the original idea? A conference took place between the respective inspector generals and their personal staffs, a meeting that would be remembered for its dramatic flair and moments of absurdity. The Inspector General of Infantry kicked things off by admitting that his branch lacked the logistical infrastructure to keep the assault guns fueled and supplied with ammunition. Additionally, they couldn't provide the necessary technical services to maintain the guns in the field. Confronted with these seemingly insurmountable challenges, he suggested abandoning the entire project. The tank men wanted to shut down the project immediately, arguing that it interfered with their own tank production, for which they needed all available industrial capacity. In response, it was pointed out that producing assault guns would allow tanks to focus on their primary role. Without assault guns, tanks would be diverted to support infantry. Additionally, the production of armored carriages was increasing steadily, so a manufacturing crisis was unlikely. However, the Panzer officers remained unconvinced and stubborn. As tempers flared, someone highlighted that the assault gun's fixed superstructure allowed for a larger caliber gun than those on tanks. They argued that this short-sightedness and inexperience were blinding the tank men to the fact that assault guns could destroy enemy armor from a greater distance. At this point, one Panzer officer lost his temper, furiously banging the table and yelling that the conference had just passed sentence of death on the Panzer arm. Despite the heated arguments, the project survived. When it was the Inspector General of Artillery's turn to speak, he appeared somewhat out of touch, possibly nostalgic for the days before 1914. Aware that the discussion was about a new support gun causing controversy, he suggested that trials should determine if the gun might be better off horse-drawn, like in World War I. The room fell silent in surprise, and his embarrassed staff quickly briefed him on von Manstein's tactical ideas and the weapon's nature. Once updated, the general warmed to the concept and agreed that it was best managed by artillerymen, much to everyone's relief. After a period of being everyone's concern but no one's responsibility, the assault gun was returned to the control of artillery. The artillery school at Jüterbog was tasked with setting up basic training facilities and a tactical school for assault artillery. In the fall of 1937, the 7th Motorized Artillery Demonstration Regiment formed an experimental battery, which conducted various exercises throughout the winter. Following an evaluation of these results, the experimental battery spent a year conducting joint trials with the Infantry Demonstration Regiment at Dobritz, establishing tactical principles that benefited both branches. During gunnery trials, the assault gun crews outperformed their Panzer counterparts, using the same weapon mounted on the Panzer IV. The Stug crews were faster to engage targets and used less ammunition to achieve the same results. This was especially gratifying for the proponents of the new weapon system, who had developed their techniques independently of the tank experts. Unfortunately, the lengthy troop and gunnery trials, though successful, along with other factors, delayed the series production of assault guns. As a result, when war broke out, not a single battery was available for immediate service. The Stug 3 assault gun occupies a unique spot in the history of German armor as the only tracked weapon system to serve throughout World War II in a consistent basic format. The absence of a turret allowed for a significant reduction in weight, which enabled the Stug 3 to be fitted with 50mm frontal armor, much thicker than that of contemporary German tanks. This design also contributed to a low profile, with the vehicle standing only 6 feet 4 inches tall. Weighing 21.5 tons, the Stug 3 could reach speeds of up to 25 miles per hour, comparable to most medium tanks of its era. Panzer leaders like Heinz Guderian had serious reservations about the Stug. He commented on its limitations, stating, "It does not have a fully traversable gun, which can only fire forwards, 24 degrees versus 360 degrees. This means that, to engage targets at the sides or rear, time-consuming relocation of the vehicle is necessary." The problem, as it turns out, is that Guderian clearly never saw Stugs in action. Stugs can turn and engage targets to its flanks in seconds. It does not require time-consuming relocation. The Stugs designers were well aware that a forward-firing gun could be a liability, but this concern applies specifically to close combat. Assault artillerymen were all volunteers and regarded as the elite of their branch. They earned numerous honors, including the Iron Cross First and Second Class, with the Assault Artillery branch securing 325 German crosses in gold and 140 Knight's Crosses. Among the Knight's Cross recipients, 14 were further distinguished with oak leaves. By 1940, the number of guns in an assault battery had been increased from 4 to 6. The success of the few units deployed in France sparked significant enthusiasm for the assault gun concept. Full-scale production began, and the artillery school at Jüterbog started training the first battalions. Initially, production was slow, with only 2 battalions being completed every 3 months. However, this pace later increased to 3 battalions every 2 months. Their 75mm L24 short barrel gun was eventually replaced by a 75mm L43 and later by the more powerful L48 gun. In 1943, the assault artillery established its own school, significantly boosting the training of units and replacement personnel. Eventually, around 70 battalions had been produced, not including those specially trained for tank destroyer roles or sent to reinforce understrength panzer divisions. By early 1943, the German tank industry was in disarray, with assault gun production steadily surpassing that of battle tanks, which were more complex and costly to produce. Production of the Panzer III had ended in 1942, except for chassis needed for assault guns. At this point, there was a drastic and seemingly serious proposal to cancel the Panzer IV, the backbone of the Panzer divisions, in favor of focusing on Tiger and Panther production. A troublingly large share of Panzer IV chassis had been committed to self-propelled artillery, tank destroyers, and assault guns. Tigers were being produced at just 25 per month, and the Panther had not yet reached full-scale production. Due to the Stug's remarkable success in anti-tank roles and its large-scale production, a decision was made around 1943 to end the artillery's exclusive control over the vehicle. Stugs were no longer limited to assault gun battalions. They began equipping Panzerjäger battalions within panzer divisions. Additionally, most top-tier German infantry divisions received a battery of Stugs as part of their divisional Panzerjäger battalions, alongside their towed anti-tank guns. The Stug is one of the rare cases where reality lived up to the hype. Renowned as a tank killer, it proved to be one of the most successful tank destroyers of all time. By 1943, some Stug battalions had amassed over 1,000 kills, surpassing many Tiger battalions in their kill counts. The Germans even compiled a report comparing Stug and Panzer kills, which concluded, assault gun battalions have achieved significantly higher kill scores than tank battalions, despite using the same guns and the latter having rotating turrets. Moreover, the report highlighted why Stugs were superior tank killers. Their gunners received specialized training for long-range shooting, treating it as a precise artillery exercise involving calculations and range estimation. In contrast, standard Panzer gunnery training in 1943 still relied on a shooting with a hunting rifle approach. The report also identified another factor contributing to the Stug's effectiveness. It only fires when halted, and only with direct fire from positions that are as well concealed against ground and air reconnaissance as possible. Some might argue that tanks also fired only when halted, as firing on the move proved highly inaccurate and ineffective. However, contrary to popular belief, many, possibly even most, World War II tankers continued to attempt shooting on the move. The pre-war consensus held that it was feasible, and they experimented with it throughout the war. It wasn't until after the war that the futility of shooting on the move was fully recognized, with the consensus shifting to the understanding that the most effective method was to fire while stationary and from a concealed position. In short, the successful methodology of Stug units, already established as official operating procedure in 1942, was key to their effectiveness. Their success stemmed from adopting the right approach to combat early on, rather than merely from the vehicles they used. Another key factor contributing to the Stug crew's greater success compared to their Panzer counterparts was the standard use of scissor scopes, which are stereoscopic rangefinders. The tank commander would adjust the device until the target was in focus, then read the range off a small window, so the gunner could acquire and engage targets faster, at longer ranges, and with greater accuracy. This was never used as a standard equipment in Panzers. Michael Wittmann, the famed Tiger Ace, began his illustrious career as a Stug commander. His heroics with a short-barreled Stug 3 against T-34s are legendary. Utilizing the scissor scope, Wittmann expertly ambushed enemy tanks, using the device to achieve precise range estimates and devastating accuracy. The scissor scope stereoscopic view, using two lenses, allowed the Stug crews to estimate range far more accurately than with the standard gunner's sight, which relied on a single lens. Many tank commanders continued to use their scissor scopes from assault guns when they were promoted to Tigers and Panthers. After Kursk, the tide turned in Russia, and the Wehrmacht was compelled to adopt a defensive stance. Instead of its original role as an assault gun, the Stug 3 increasingly took on the role of a tank destroyer. The lower profile made the vehicle easier to camouflage and presented a smaller target to enemy gunners, making it well suited for ambushing enemy tanks. By the end of 1943, it was estimated that assault guns had destroyed 13,000 enemy tanks. By the following spring, this number had risen to 20,000. According to the Tank Museum at Bovington, by the end of the war, the Stug had racked up an impressive 30,000 Russian tank kills, more than any other German combat vehicle and surpassing all Allied tanks. Key moments include the battle at Kharkov in February 1943, where the Stug units of the Grossdeutschland Division achieved 44 T-34 kills, while an equal number of Tiger units only managed 30. At Leningrad the same year, Assault Gun Battalion 226, with 41 StuG-3s, destroyed 221 Russian T-34 and KV-1 tanks, suffering just 13 losses. These engagements highlight how easily the low-profile assault guns could be concealed in optimal firing positions, which is why Russian tank crews so despised them. For instance, during 15 months on the Reserve sector, the 667 Assault Gun Battalion's 3 batteries alone destroyed an impressive 1,000 Russian tanks. The Red Army, recognizing the effectiveness of the Stug, set about creating their own rough copies and also used captured vehicles, replacing the 75mm gun with their 76.2mm model. However, they were unable to replicate the fundamental skills and combat expertise of the German assault artillerymen. The story of the Stug is one of unexpected dominance. Designed as an infantry support vehicle, it became one of the most effective tank killers of World War II. Through smart design, tactical employment, and skilled crews, the Stug earned its place in the annals of military history.